I want to show 4 pieces that I made using wild clay. Not only wild clay, I did a mix, as I'll show you, but I incorporated some clay that I found in the wild outside, and I'm really happy with how these turned out. 3 of the experiments were successful. I made pieces that are usable and beautiful. The 4th did not work out, and I'll show you why. So I found some clay in Washington on a beach, and I knew that it was clay because it looked just like a rock, but I could see that part of it was kind of melting when it got wet. So I took a closer look, and sure enough, it was clay. I refined it myself. I got it all wet, rehydrated it, and then strained it and dried it out, wedged it a lot, and it was a very strange feeling clay. It was not at all like the clay that I usually use that comes from my studio. It's beautifully easy to work with. This felt kind of a bit spongy, a kind of almost a tacky feeling, a little stickiness, even if I dried it out quite a lot. So I started out with about a 30% ratio. So 30% was my wild clay, and then the other 70% was just a very stable white clay that we use in our studio all the time. It's called Christy Lombard from Georgie's in Portland. And here's how it turned out. I really love the color. I wish I had something to show in contrast to show what the plain white one would look like, because even just 30% did color it a lot. It's sort of a taupe, nice warm shade of brownish gray, I guess. And it has these speckles. So I really love this piece. I meant it to be kind of a vase, but it was my first time working with this clay, and it was sort of hard to work with. So I didn't color it in. I didn't close this as much as I would usually want to for a vase. So I actually use it for a cup. And for me, it works really nicely for tea. It's a good size before I want to, refill and to keep it hot. And I just think I really love this piece, actually. The wavy shape, you can see it kind of slumped a bit. One thing about this clay is I think it melts a bit in the kiln. A note about that. So studios are very careful to only use clay that is going to work well in their kiln, isn't gonna melt and mess anything up. I'm so grateful to my studio for letting me do this experiment, and they showed me how to do that very carefully. I have a little special tray that I made specifically to throw pieces with wild clay in case they do melt. And I'm really grateful that they let me do that. So that was that piece. Oh, and you'll also notice it's pretty uniform, the color, right? So I wedged this one a lot. I tried to get it very uniform. The next pieces, I did not do that. So this was my next experiment. And for this one, I wedged it only a little. Basically, this one had gone so well, I thought, well, let me try to push it a little further, see how much I can get away with. So I had 2 colors of clay, and here you can kind of see the 2 different colors that I was working with. And I wedged them together, which is kind of a kneading process, but I just didn't do it as much, so you can still see the layers. They're not fully homogeneous. So to show closer here, this just turned out so beautiful. First of all, you can notice the 2 different colors. So the wild clay is very dark, and then the white is our studio clay. And when I threw it, a lot of the lines you see on here were a little more straight. So in the firing, again, there's that kind of meltiness. They got some undulation, which I find so beautiful. Somebody told me it looked like Jupiter, and I absolutely agree. You can also see a few like little bumps, some impurities kind of pushed their way out to the surface. It's so fascinating. I was just absolutely blown away when this came out. I was so happy to see it. And by the way, I did put a clear coat on these. So that's why they're nice and shiny. And this is, I also meant this to be a vase, but the problem with this one is that it's a little too short. So I actually really love to use it for pens and things. I put some ridges on the bottom for things to fit into, originally stems, but I like to use it, yeah, just for things like that instead. All right, the third one, this one, by the way, was like a little under 50% wild clay. This one was fully 50% or maybe a little over 50%, so a little more wild clay. I think I did even less wedging. Again, very beautiful. And yeah, this one I wanted to make my first kind of bowl shape. I was scared to do bowl shapes before because, yeah, this clay, it gets very soft. I thought it might kind of collapse on the side. But you do see that this is starting to be a little bit more than a little bit too much wild clay in this piece. You can see that like the impurities there are really making some bigger bumps. I don't really think this one would be food safe. Let me try to find a good example. Here's a really big bump. I don't think this one would be food safe. I see a lot of little, I don't know, kind of holes and cracks where things pushed through. But I love to use it for little knickknacks or keys, things like that. And it's also just very beautiful. But I can see that this is getting to be a little bit too much, at least for the temperature that we fire at in my studio, which is cone 6. All right, here's my failed experiment. So this one was, I think, like 60, even more, 65 maybe % wild clay. And I wedged it a lot. So again, it's homogeneous, it doesn't have as much of the cool marbling. But it did, I guess, melt is the word for it. Like, how would we say, fused to the little tray that I'd made here and here and ripped off some of that. And then I can't open it. There's just, it's totally sealed shut. I was actually surprised that I was even able to get it into this shape, to be honest. For this one, I was really pushing the limits of how I could use the clay. And I was able to get it into a jar shape, which is tricky. And I kind of just wish I'd left it maybe as a bisqueware without the glaze, because it looked fine at that stage. Anyway, so I have a little bit more of this wild clay. I haven't decided yet what I want to try next with it, but I love this color. I might go back to kind of a lighter ratio. I love this pattern. This was kind of a good happy place. So we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing with the rest of it.